Welcome to National Eyes. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates tonight. We turn to the South China Sea, where a bold U.S.-Philippine energy alliance is challenging Beijing's sweeping maritime claims. This isn't just about energy, it's a high-stakes geopolitical chess match with global consequences. The multi-billion-dollar deal aims to secure the Philippines' energy future and assert its sovereignty, drawing a clear line against Chinese interference. For millions of Filipinos, reliable energy is a daily struggle, and this partnership promises a path towards self-sufficiency. But it also risks direct confrontation with China, intertwining American interests with Philippine security in a region vital to global trade. As we dive deeper, we'll unpack how this alliance could redefine the Indo-Pacific's power balance for years to come. The urgency behind this partnership begins with the Malampaya gas fields, once the backbone of Luzon's power grid, now nearly depleted after decades of fueling homes, businesses, and industries across the region. For years, Malampaya supplied up to 40% of Luzon's electricity, making it a critical pillar of the nation's energy security. But as its reserves dwindle, the country faces a looming crisis that threatens to disrupt daily life for millions. With Malampaya projected to run dry by 2020. The Philippines is staring down the barrel of rolling blackouts, skyrocketing electricity bills, and widespread economic instability. The threat isn't just about inconvenience. Power shortages could cripple hospitals, schools, and factories, and put the brakes on the country's economic growth. For ordinary Filipinos, this could mean job losses, higher living costs, and a lower quality of life. To fill the gap, the country has become heavily reliant on imported coal and fossil fuels, which now make up the majority of its energy mix. This dependence leaves the Philippines dangerously exposed to global price shocks and supply disruptions, as seen during recent international crises. Every surge in global fuel prices is felt directly by Filipino households and businesses, making energy both expensive and unpredictable. Untapped reserves like the Reed Bank in the South China Sea could potentially solve the crisis, offering enough natural gas to power the country for decades. However, ongoing territorial disputes and aggressive interference by China have blocked all exploration and development efforts, leaving these vital resources just out of reach. Manila's long-term vision is to transition to renewable energy sources like wind and solar, aiming for a cleaner and more sustainable future. But building enough capacity will take years, and the immediate need is for natural gas, a crucial bridge fuel as the country begins importing LNG to keep the lights on and the economy running. This new partnership with the United States represents a last-ditch effort to unlock domestic energy resources, attract investment, and secure advanced technology. The hope is to break free from dependence on imports and avoid a future defined by energy insecurity and vulnerability to foreign influence. The stakes could not be higher: energy independence or deepening vulnerability. For the Philippines, the clock is ticking, and every decision made now will shape the nation's future for generations to come. China's influence looms large over Philippine energy ambitions, casting a long shadow over the nation's hopes for energy independence and economic growth. The South China Sea, rich in oil and gas reserves, is a lifeline for the Philippines' future energy security. Yet, these waters have become a flashpoint, where power, politics, and resources collide. China's Coast Guard and Maritime militia have repeatedly blocked Philippine exploration efforts in these contested waters, enforcing Beijing's sweeping and controversial claims. Filipino survey ships and drilling platforms have faced constant harassment, with Chinese vessels shadowing or even physically obstructing their operations. This aggressive posture has effectively stalled Manila's attempts to tap into its own offshore resources, leaving vast reserves untouched beneath the waves. Joint exploration talks with China, once seen as a possible solution, have ground to a halt. Negotiations have been mired in mistrust and legal uncertainty, with no clear path forward. As a result, the Philippines remains locked out of its own energy future, unable to develop vital oil and gas fields that could help power its growing economy and reduce dependence on imports. But the threat to Philippine energy security isn't just offshore. On land, China's reach extends into the very heart of the country's power infrastructure. Through its state grid company, China holds a 40% stake in the National Grid Corporation of the Philippines. This has sparked deep concerns among officials and the public alike, with fears that Beijing could potentially disrupt or sabotage the country's electricity supply in times of crisis or heightened tensions. This dual pressure, at sea and on land, has left the Philippines in a precarious position, vulnerable to both economic coercion and strategic manipulation. The government now faces the urgent task of safeguarding its sovereignty and securing reliable energy for its people. In response, President Marcos Jr. is pivoting towards new alliances. He has invited American energy firms to invest and help break the deadlock, seeking to diversify partnerships and counterbalance China's growing grip on the country's energy sector. This move signals a significant shift in Philippine foreign policy, as Manila looks to strengthen ties with the United States and other like-minded nations. The message from the Philippines is clear: the country will no longer accept obstruction of its national development. Public sentiment is rallying behind calls for greater self-reliance and the protection of national interests, both at sea and on land. The struggle for energy is now a central front in a much larger contest for influence in Southeast Asia, with the Philippines caught in the cross-currents of global power rivalry. The outcome will shape not just the nation's energy future, but the balance of power in the region for years to come. The Philippines' pivot to the U.S. is reshaping its energy landscape and security strategy. American companies are now welcomed into oil and gas exploration, especially in contested waters. The U.S.-Philippines Civil Nuclear Cooperation Agreement paves the way for advanced nuclear power, aiming for 200 megawatts by 2032. The Luzon Economic Corridor, backed by the U.S. and Japan, will modernize infrastructure and boost clean energy projects. Ongoing policy dialogues and USAID initiatives are strengthening the grid and protecting critical infrastructure. This alliance is about more than defense. It's a long-term commitment to Philippine energy security and economic growth. The numbers behind this shift are staggering. In January 2025, a $3.3 billion deal secured a major LNG terminal and 2 power plants, ensuring a steady energy supply as Malampaya fades. The private sector's investment signals confidence in the country's energy future and deepens ties with U.S. LNG suppliers. Nuclear ambitions will require billions more, with American technology at the core. U.S. military aid has also surged to $500 million, reinforcing the security needed for energy exploration. These investments make the alliance real, tangible, well-funded, and built to last. The U.S.-Philippine energy deal is shaking up Asia's geopolitical landscape, directly challenging China's ambitions in the region. This agreement is more than just a business transaction. It's a bold move that signals shifting alliances and a new era of competition for influence in Southeast Asia. As the world watches, the Philippines finds itself at the center of a high-stakes power play between two global giants. If successful, this partnership could transform the Philippines into an energy self-sufficient nation, reducing its reliance on imported fuel and boosting jobs across the country. Lower electricity costs could mean a better quality of life for millions of Filipinos, from bustling cities to remote villages. New opportunities in the energy sector could spark innovation, attract foreign investment, and help modernize the country's infrastructure. But the alliance is divisive at home. Some see it as vital protection against external threats, while others worry it's a provocation that risks the nation's sovereignty and peace. Heated debates erupt in Congress and on the streets, reflecting deep concerns about the country's future direction and independence. Public opinion is mixed. There's strong support for energy development and the promise of progress, but also skepticism about the safety of nuclear power and the growing presence of U.S. military forces. Many Filipinos wonder if the benefits outweigh the risks and whether their voices are truly being heard in these historic decisions. The expansion of U.S. bases is seen by some as a necessary shield in uncertain times, a way to deter aggression and ensure security. Yet for others, it's a potential flashpoint that could draw the Philippines into conflicts not of its own making, raising fears of instability and loss of autonomy. For ordinary Filipinos, the promise of energy independence and economic growth is weighed against the very real risks of becoming a battleground in a superpower rivalry. Every family, every business, and every community feels the impact of these decisions. As global tensions ripple through daily life, the stakes are personal, national, and global. The choices made today will shape not only the Philippines' destiny, but also the balance of power in Asia and beyond. As the next generation looks to the future, the outcome of this energy deal will influence education, opportunity, and stability for years to come. The world is watching, and the region's future hangs in the balance. Experts call the Philippines' move a necessary gamble. Energy analysts warn that doing nothing means economic crisis as Malampaya runs dry. Geopolitical strategists caution that inviting U.S. firms raises the risk of confrontation with China, whose tolerance for escalation is high. Economists see the $3.3 billion LNG deal as a vote of confidence, likely to attract more foreign investment if successful. The rewards: energy independence, economic growth, and a stronger rule of law. The risks: miscalculation, conflict, and the danger of becoming a pawn in great power competition. Filipino voices urge balance, leveraging alliances for sovereignty, but not at the cost of national welfare. The path forward is fraught, but the potential payoff is transformative. This energy partnership is part of a broader U.S. strategy, integrated deterrence, linking allies across the Indo-Pacific. The Philippines, Japan, and the U.S. are building economic corridors and infrastructure to counter China's influence. Enhanced U.S. military access in the Philippines strengthens deterrence and supports energy security. These alliances send a clear message: standing up for sovereign rights is a shared endeavor, not a solitary one. The energy deal is a model for other nations. Proof that partnership with the U.S. brings real economic and security benefits. Oil and gas rigs in the South China Sea are now symbols of collective resolve. The stakes go far beyond energy. They're about the future of the regional order. The coming months will test the resolve of the Philippines and its allies as U.S.-backed exploration moves into contested waters. China's response will shape whether this new alliance brings stability or sparks confrontation. For Filipinos, the stakes are economic transformation versus the risk of conflict. The world is watching. Can a smaller nation with allied support uphold its rights against a superpower? The outcome will set a precedent for global maritime security and the rules-based order. This is more than an energy story. It's about the principles that will define the 21st century. The calls stay engaged, because what happens here will shape the world we all share.